Hey, Aseem. Thank you for making the time. I'm Akshay. I'm working with Pepper Content and expanding their businesses in Southeast Asia and Middle East. And I'm really excited about having this conversation with you today. So our editorial team has done a lot of research on your background, your passions, your corporate journey, your journey with Unilever. So we've designed a few questions based on what your experiences have been. So before we get into the questions, could you tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, great to be here, Akshay, and thanks for inviting me on the show with Pepper Content. Excited to be here. So, look, I currently am the CEO for Unilever International, which is Unilever's global white space division. We basically serve the underserved, which means we go to markets that you always want to holiday in, like Maldives and Mauritius. We also go to places that you never probably want to go into war zones, conflict areas, and markets which are really stressful and difficult to do business in, whether they be in the Pacific or in Africa or in other parts of the world. So it's a very exciting job, and it integrates a lot of social first marketing because we operate in such a wide gamut of markets. So excited to be here. So I am a CEO by day. I love to write and speak at night. So I've published a book last year called 10x Productive on how to be super productive and really fulfill your potential. I love to talk about that as well in various forums internationally. So delighted to be here.
Great. And that's great segue into our first question, which is, I wanted to understand a bit about your perspective on building brands across borders. So you mentioned you work very closely with underserved markets. So what we understand, you've had access to more than 80 markets in your role. And given, what you just mentioned, there are many nuances, cultural, economic, geopolitical. So you've navigated all this during your career in Unilever. Could you give us a bit of flavor on how this experience has, shaped your core philosophy on brand globalization? And what are some of the fundamental principles that remain consistent across these territories?
Sure, sure. So, firstly, I think I'm very lucky and privileged to do a role where we actually work in over 200 countries, literally. So, 202 to be precise. And like I often say, with the exception of Antarctica, where we haven't found consumers, and a few sanctioned countries where we do not operate, we pretty much are present all around the world. Now, in such a wide gamut of markets, we launch a lot of brands, a lot of products, and there are some good insights and learnings that come from this. So, the first big overall insight is that we are into one social consumer globally. What that means is that the good news for marketers is that unlike earlier, where, oh, my country is different, my language is different, my culture is different, that's no longer the case. Today, we all follow the same influencers, follow the same social patterns. News from one part of the world travels to the other. People travel a lot, whether it be domestic or international, and therefore they carry with them the best ideas from around the world. Give you a recent example. Just yesterday's news in the Financial Times that the world is now facing, surprisingly, a pistachio crisis. Now, why is there a pistachio crisis? Because there is a small brand in Dubai that launched a chocolate with pistachio in it called Dubai chocolate. And they put it out on TikTok and Instagram. It sort of simmered there for a while until an influencer picked it up, talked about it, and then it completely blew up. Now, Dubai chocolate is everywhere. This guy's fuming because he didn't make enough money out of it. Everybody else has copied him. And Iran, which is one of the biggest producers of pistachio, is now running short. So it shows you that trends travel globally. So from my career, examples like we acquired a brand in the US. That's a brand for textured hair. So we thought always this brand is great for African American women who have long hair, thick hair, need extra hydration. But once we bought the brand, the question was, where else in the world do you find textured hair? And when we started doing the work, we discovered, surprisingly, Australia, because there's a large Aboriginal population, Mexico, Morocco, Arabia, and so on. And every time when we launched that brand into those markets, we discovered two things. First, consumer needs were the same. If the product worked for textured hair in America, it worked in Australia. Second, most consumers who had textured hair already knew about the brand because they are hunting and searching for the best solution. And somebody told them this is the best brand in the US. Difference only was earlier my cousin or my friend was to get it for me, or if I travel, I get it, or I can't get it. Now it's available. Similarly, for example, Netflix launched a series called Emily in Paris, which became quite successful. And the lead protagonist wears a very vibrant, bright shirt, shade of lip, and we were launching a new Vaseline lip range. And we said, hey, how about we do Unilever's first global Netflix collaboration? And we partnered with Netflix to launch a limited edition of Vaseline lip with Emily in Paris. It has done 10x better than what we expected. Phenomenal success. Lots of social conversation. And the funny thing is, we now get demand in countries where we didn't sell Vaseline. We get demand in countries where there is no Netflix. And in both cases, today brands travel across borders. I think the key thing is one, global social self. Second, consumers are very, very clear about benefits, and benefits can be both functional and emotional. Products need to deliver functional benefits at high performance levels. They need to be clinically proven, well tested. And when that happens, you end up getting good reviews. People talk about you. Is a question of time before you really start to spread. The other thing, coming from the FMCG world, I worked in Hindustan Lever, which is a company that serves every Indian home in India, and we make products that are highly affordable. Today, it's the opposite. It's a world of premiumization. Consumers are willing to pay premium and super premium prices for better benefits. So, therefore, on lip care, to give you an example, while we launched the core lip balm, today the demand is for lip oils, lip gloss. I was surprised to hear last week with one of our suppliers, lip scrubs are doing well. I said, what is a lip scrub? I said, okay, lip scrub is something that you scrub your lips with so that they look new. And then the girl looked at me and said, I think you need some anti-aging product for your lips. I said, I didn't even realize there was such a product, right? But the fact is, premiumization is happening. Now, so I think social premiumization combined means for marketeers, you're operating in one global market. You are not operating in multiple countries. Therefore, you really have the opportunity to globalize your brand today. If you see traction in one market, I guarantee you there is traction in more markets as well.
Got it. It's very interesting, your view on consumers. So I myself am an alumni of J&J, and this conversation with markets was always the case. That my market is different, my nuances are different. But very interesting view on the fact that we need to go after the consumer and not anything beyond that. So next question from me is around scaling brands in the digital age. Now you're recognized as a digital and performance marketing expert who's built agile models to scale brands worldwide. Could you elaborate on some of the elements of this agile model and how it allows rapid growth?
Yeah, sure. So I think again, let me start with an example. A year and a half ago, we were doing social listening and we discovered a lot of social buzz and chatter around a product called Vaseline body oil. Okay. And a lot of influencers talking about how they put it on their shoulders or their midriff to give them glowing legs, etc., etc. And very interesting product. Now, normally, given that I've spent some time in the company, I know the brands well, I think I would know this product. But okay, seems like something I've never seen, I've never heard of it. So I was really intrigued. So we started probing, looking for where this thing is made. So it sounds like something that is getting traction. We kept hunting. 1 month, 2 months passed, no information. I got really frustrated. Third month, we finally realized all those products were fakes. They were all counterfeits. And then when we probed deeper, we realized there used to be a product earlier, which was delisted, but there were still consumers who loved that texture. And they said, look, I really want this. And somebody had copied and counterfeited it. So we took two actions. One, we sent our legal team behind the counterfeiters to get that product off the market so that there is no more problem in the market. Second, we briefed our marketing team and say, hey, look at the comments, look at the traction, look at the benefits, look at what people are talking about. Let's design a range based on the social comments. We launched that. We are now at 1000x of what we had projected originally. We just can't make enough stock. So the big learning here is, for all my career, marketing used to be about make people want things. Means make the sexiest advertising, test out of it, convince people, get celebrities in, shoot the most perfect communication ever. In detergent advertising, pay attention to the color of the bucket and how much foam there is, etc., etc., etc. That world has flipped on its head and said, today the world is make things people want. It's not about the communication. It is about the product, its benefits. It's about delivering performance. It's about living true to your promise because it's a transparent world. People are going to look at your back of pack and say, do you really have those ingredients? They're going to test your products and say, does it deliver before and after as you promised? They're going to read what other people are talking about and follow that. So I think the big shift for marketers is, instead of obsessing with the perfect communication and the perfect piece of advertising or that great celebrity endorsement, or that perfect ad spot or a great media campaign, because that's where energy used to go. Energy needs to go now completely on what are you selling, what are you offering, how good is the core offering that you're giving. Now, along with that, also comes a lot of product education. So brands that win today are the ones that not only are delivering good products, but they also are driving a lot of education around the brand. So Unilever brand like Sif, which is a cleaning brand, we ran a campaign on 101 ways to use the product. Very successful. CeraVe and Cetaphil, which are competitor brands, have also done a really good job at educating consumers around skin conditions and relevance of their products for those skin conditions. So I think that's a big dramatic shift in marketing in terms of pivoting. Second, if anybody tells me in my team, I know what's going to work, I know they are wrong because nobody knows. Because the reality is that the only way to learn is to experiment. To give you an example, in Korea, which is a market that we manage, Korean beauty is world famous, and therefore in Korea, it's hotly contested. There are 50,000 face brands active in Korea right now. There are 50 new brands that come every week. People come in and go out. That's the environment. In that environment, the only way to win is study trends, study search and social behavior, listen to e-commerce reviews, build some hypothesis, experiment, test, launch. So that's the model that we follow. Our mantra is default answer is yes. If you want to say no, you justify to me why you're saying no. So if I have an idea, the default answer is go try, go experiment. And therefore, I think a culture where you do 100 experiments is absolutely vital in today's day of marketing. You just don't know what's going to work. Even on TikTok or Instagram, if anybody says, "Oh, I know how to make something viral," you know they're wrong, because the only model that works is consistent process of experimentation. Take the learnings, build those learnings back, and keep experimenting. And again, what worked earlier will not work again, right? So therefore, things will evolve, things will change. So I think culture of experimentation, a lot of focus on the core product offering itself that is designed to deliver the benefit, as opposed to a lot of time spent on perfection of communication.
Yes, absolutely understand where that comes from. We spend a lot of time in creating the right baby product communication, right video, right channel. It's very interesting that, it's all about experimentation. Now, there are a few, I don't know whether they're experiments, but business models that have been launched within Unilever International. There were corporate partnerships. There's the diaspora division. There's the goodcart.com. Now, could you give me a bit of flavor on why these were created and what were some of the unique challenges and opportunities that you encountered?
Yeah, so I think it starts with our purpose to serve the underserved, which means we serve underserved markets, so small geographies, challenging geographies, underserved channels, channels that we don't participate in usually, underserved consumer segments that other people overlook, right? So that's how we segment our strategy. Now, when you look at, for example, underserved consumer segments, one of the things we discovered early on was we were getting a little bit of traction around brands that were peculiarly Indian brands or Filipino brands. And then when we discovered, oh, it's because there is a big diaspora, it's growing. Immigration continues to climb in Australia, in Canada, in US, in UK, and so on. So we created a small crack team to say the hypothesis is there is a large and growing diaspora. These people have money. They crave their favorite brands from home. There is no organized model to distribute or market these brands in these markets. Let's create a small 4-member team, 3-member team, and give them an assignment and say, okay, here's the experiment. I believe this can be worth, I don't know, back of the envelope, 100 million. Let's go and see whether my hypothesis is right or wrong. So we select a team, put up team leader, give them a brief, little bit of budget, and say, go experiment. We start to then observe how it's tracking, what's working, what's not working. Very quickly, we realized that the biggest diaspora in the world from spending money perspective was actually Filipinos, not Indians. And when we dug deeper into it, we realized, okay, all the Indians are mostly guys working overseas. They're looking to save a lot of money and send money home. They don't spend much money. Most of the Filipinos are girls working overseas. They like to spend money. So, okay, focus on the Filipinos. Within the Filipino community, we discovered very quickly they have their own media, they have their own social, they have their own TV, they have their own cultural networks, etc., etc. And we started experimenting. And very quickly, that became a successful business. Then we replicated for India, for Pakistan, and so on. Similar. So I think sometimes, so it's opportunity can come from strategy, and then you put an experimentation team. Let me give you an opposite example of where there is no strategy. Okay, something that is opportunistic. So in COVID, we had one hotel chain that we've been talking to come to us one day and say, I have a problem. So what is your problem? My problem is I have too much of sanitizer dispensers sitting in my, because I ordered these in COVID. Now COVID is over. I don't need these sanitizers. I've invested a lot of money. If I write it off, I'm going to lose money. So what can you help me? I said, okay, I'm in the business of selling. I'm not in the business of buying, right? So therefore we said, okay, what can we do? So we said, look, how about I do a deal with you that in your in-room hotels, in your rooms, you will put one of my premium brands like Dove, body wash, shampoo, conditioner, lotion, etc. Give me a 3-4 year contract. In exchange, I'll take all your lifebuoy dispensers. I still didn't know what to do with it. And then we went around the market talking to all of our other customers and say, where's an opportunity? We discovered some schools, some hospitals still needed them. So we gave it to them at a discount, did the deal with this hotel chain, launched Dove. The moment we launched, immediately the feedback came, oh, guests are happy. They like the brand. When they're using Dove in the room, they feel it's good. They feel it's more premium compared to whatever was there earlier. So we said, okay, traction. Now, put a 4-member team. I asked around saying who wants to volunteer to lead a global business where you will work with IHG, Marriott, Wyndham, Singapore Airlines, Turkish Airways, etc. One guy in procurement put his hand up. So, okay, come. We put 2-3 people with him. And this guy has now built that business into a multi-million-dollar business for us. So this came from opportunity, opportunistic, or more tactical, or what you see immediately. First one came from strategy, but in both cases, we put small teams to experiment. Similarly, the good cart was a hypothesis of a marketer in my team, and we set up a D2C capability, completely new. We don't know how to do anything. We don't know how to do marketing, how to do CRM, how to do logistics. We've been learning. That experiment has not scaled yet because we haven't found, let's say, the right founder who is maniacally obsessed about scaling it. So I think you need maniacally obsessed founders who will break all limits and barriers in order to scale their business. So we've had success in areas where we had those people. In areas we didn't have those people, we haven't had that success. Similarly, I think there are many other such cases where every day somebody will come with some idea and the approach of default answer is yes, go for it, let's try, why not? Right. And one of the mantras which one of my predecessors used to use is, because very often what happens in companies is when somebody says, okay, let's enter, for example, sun care as a segment. Somebody else in the team will say, Arey yaar, there's too much competition, well established players, there are 20 other people doing it. How can we win, etc., etc. To which, honestly, is there a market segment in which there is nobody else present? I think you'll be hard pressed to find. There'll always be somebody, right? So one of my predecessors used to say, simple principle, if others can do, we can also do. And then once we do, we have to learn how to do better. So I think when we take that approach, we are able to enter into many categories and markets that other people are nervous or afraid of entry, right? So yeah, I think that's where the culture of experimentation comes from. We also celebrate our failures. So we have something called a failcon, where we publicly share what we failed at, proudly share what we failed at. And I think that gives a lot of freedom and space to people to say, hey, I want to try. Hey, I want to experiment. Hey, I want to give it a shot.
Got it. Now let's talk a bit about the 10x productive mindset. So you, of course, you're one of the best-selling, you are the best-selling author of 10x Productive and a noted speaker on leadership and productivity. What are some of the core tenets of 10x Productive philosophy, and how can individuals practically apply them in, gaining impact in the business?
Sure, absolutely. So I think I wrote it because I've been blogging for a while on LinkedIn and I got good feedback from people on the articles I've been writing. Few people requested saying, hey, can you compile these into a hook? So I did that. And then I've been talking a little bit about it. So I think some of the key things that I reflect on is, one, you have a lot of time to do the important things in life, but that time gets sucked by all the unimportant things in life. Therefore, you need to really build some habits to what the Buddhists say, empty your cup. So, for example, even though I am a social marketer, digital marketer, I don't have any social media apps on my phone. Only when I need it for work, I will access it. But I'm not sitting and browsing Instagram or TikTok or Facebook all day long because I know it's going to eat up a significant amount of my time. Similarly, I delete a lot of meetings every week. So I have a target to delete 25 meetings a week. Every Sunday evening or every Monday morning, my goal is go through my calendar, clean things up, remove all the things that are unnecessary, unimportant. If somebody sends me an invitation saying, you and I are going to have a conversation, I'm going to delete that meeting, pick up the phone, call the person. Similarly, third principle for me is email creates confusion, calls create conclusions. So what that means is very often you will have an email trail, 20 people copied, people fighting, disagreeing with each other, etc. It's a waste of time. The two decision makers pick up the phone, talk to each other. When you talk to each other, very often, even if you're angry, you cannot say it like that. You will be a little bit better at listening. You're not going to shout or yell at each other. You're not going to be rude. You will actually try to understand the other's point of view and come to a clear conclusion. So I think some habits, first of all, one has to build on eliminating stuff from your time, from your diary. So you have to remove all the things that are sucking up your time. Now, it's different for different people. It might be social media, it might be streaming, it might be something else. Second, at work, you have to guard your time. Say no to meetings. Even if I give people a lot of tips saying, oh, if your boss sent you a meeting and it's a useless meeting, how to say no to your boss without pissing them off, right? Come up with a list of 10 excuses that your boss will be okay with. Like, for example, if you're in sales and you say, I'm with a customer, I'm making a customer preparation, I'm making doing something important, I'm in a conflict, I'm outside, etc., 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 it's okay. Similarly, what wastes time in organizations is updates and PowerPoint. Very often we'll make long decks of slides, send to each other, then go through the whole goddamn thing in the meeting all over again. So much easier if you ask your line manager or key stakeholder and say, what is the key information you need from me? In most cases, people will say, I want to know what's working, what's not working. I want to know what's the sales number. I want to know if you have a problem. You can update them very quickly on a WhatsApp or an email, etc., and save your time. Then, with the time that you have saved, what do you do with that time, right? I think then comes part two. Don't set 1 year goals, set 10-year goals. What do you want to do in 10 years? Do you want to be an entrepreneur founder? If so, why? Do you want to be the CEO of a company? If so, why? Do you want to make money? How much? Do you want to travel? Where? With whom? When? Make those specific 10-year goals and then start putting those into your diary, those activities, right? So, for example, when I say, look, my purpose is to serve and inspire, that means I need to be doing this kind of sessions where the words that I'm sharing with you go to more people. So every day I should be doing a blog post or an interview or write an article. I should be doing something like that. That means I free space in my diary to create the time for doing that. Another big principle I deeply believe in is don't need to make, once your goal is set, you're clear. Let's say if you want to, for example, become a best-selling author, or if you want to start a company, or if you want to become a CEO, whatever your goal is, how do you get to that goal, right? I have a simple principle, it's called JDSE, which means just do something every day. Doesn't matter what you do, but every day you do something in that direction. So if you want to get fitter and you did one push-up today, it's okay. If you walked 1 kilometer, it's okay. If you ate an apple instead of eating a chocolate, it's okay. Every day you do one thing. I'm also a very big believer that even though today it's the age of Chat GPT and OpenAI and you use AI to do a lot of work for you, I believe in writing stuff. So I've got my diary open with me. I've got my pen in my hand. Whatever thoughts come into my mind or what we exchange I will record it here because it helps me remember. So I think these, and there are over 150 other ideas in the book to help you, which are all things that I apply practically that I share with others to help you empty your cup, fill it with what's important, just do something every day. And I also believe that in a fast paced, high stress, challenging environment, you must have some habits to help you center. Now, that could be yoga, it could be meditation, it could be breathing. It's different for every person, but you must have some daily practices to help you deal with the ups, downs, ins, and outs of a busy career, a challenging career, and especially these days, when jobs are stressful and there is a high degree of uncertainty in many companies.
Got it. What's the habit that you have every day? Breathing, yoga, or workout? What do you do?
Yeah. So again, what I try to do, and again, it's the principle of just do something every day, is to meditate for 10-15 minutes every day. So I meditate. I center myself on breathing. I do a lot of affirmations, visualization exercise. I don't work out every day, but I did hot yoga in the morning today. So that was really good. And therefore, I try to do 3-4 times a week yoga with my wife. Then writing, right? So whenever I get an idea, okay, try to write a small article about it that will go into the blog or eventually it will go into a future book. And then I keep a list of creative ideas that I keep getting from some time or the other into one list on my phone or wherever. And whenever I have time on a flight or I have a Saturday or I have an hour or so, pick up one of those, work on one of those, take it forward. But again, progress is never linear, it's never perfect. But as long as you are doing something every day in the direction of your goals, eventually you'll get there. Nobody can stop you.
A little bit about the digital marketing landscape. Now, you've been around for so long. You've seen all of these, big tech on these publishing platforms grow from nothing to everything now. What are some of the more significant shifts you observed in digital marketing over the years? And what key skills and strategies are essential for success today?
Well, I think the first phase really was paid social, right? So basically, you're advertising on linear analog channels, whether it's TV or print or others, etc. You take the same creative, amend it for a smaller screen, start to
Yeah,
put paid social,
absolutely.
right? Put reach frequency, spend some money, and consumers are less discerning. There is less ad avoidance behavior, and therefore people watch you, you get impressions, and you move on. So I think there was a little bit of a shift in that sense. I think then came a lot more engagement on video with YouTube, particularly where a lot of brands started creating content for YouTube, paid again. Then comes the branded content movement where a brand say, look, I don't want to just have paid media because people are skipping ads and therefore want to create branded series, experiments, etc. I think that didn't work very well for most brands because what most brand managers and companies don't realize is content is a long term game. You need to be there every day, consistently for the full year, this year, next year, the year after, 10 years later, 20 years later. Now, that kind of longevity and mindset is missing in most companies because, frankly, it's a lot of work, right? Even I blog. Sometimes it can be really frustrating. Okay, where's the new idea? The new content is not perfect. Or I was traveling, I didn't post it on time. And you start to see your organic traction drop. And there are other people who are more hungry, more motivated, more committed out there, putting out better quality content every single day. So it's hyper competitive, it's hyper intense. And therefore, brands, there are very few brands that I would say have a well developed, always on organic content strategy. Then I think the next phase really is on influencer marketing, where others say for the brands becomes really important and leveraging that others say voice to review your brand, endorse your brand, talk about your products, etc. Super critical. And that is something which now is the phase that we're in, particularly with the explosion of TikTok globally. Of course, not in India, but in most other parts of the world, TikTok is the most dominant social media platform now and is really creating trends, driving brand market shares, and driving strong preference in many, many categories, including beauty, personal care, and many others, and apparel and fashion, and even books, I would say. So I think there is what keeps changing every 18 to 24 months is the dominant platforms on which consumers are engaging with you. What doesn't change is the fact that you need to be clear on your strategy. Your strategy as a brand needs to be very clear. Am I in the organic content business? And therefore, I'm going to build a relationship with you outside of advertising. If yes, you have to invest money and resource and be consistent about it. If no, and you're on paid media, then yes, you need to be hyper agile. You need to be creating a lot of content, experimenting again with different types of content, whether it's before and after, whether it is product story, whether it is an emotional drama, whether it's inserting yourself in the popular conversation, etc., etc. So, paid versus organic is one important decision. Remember, the platforms will change, they will evolve, your audience will shift. Now, Facebook is far older, Instagram is okay, TikTok is the hot new kid on town, but already we are seeing Gen X move to other platforms like Snap, for example, and therefore people will shift. As they shift, your creatives need to shift as well. That dynamism and flexibility you need to retain. The biggest mistake a brand can make is try to be everywhere because nobody has the money, the bandwidth, the capacity, or the capability to be everywhere. Honestly, all of us in our digital journey are going through most of the different platforms, whether it they be search or social or e-commerce during a day or a week. Therefore, if you choose your strategy with one or two dominant platforms, whatever it may be, and you are consistent on it, that consistency is more powerful than creativity, right? So, like I say, there used to be a world of when I was a brand manager, my job was to paint a Picasso, make a perfect painting. Take 6 months, do it right, create that masterpiece, present it to the consumer, and the consumer will have an aha moment and they'll buy your brand. Today, we are in the world of Dilbert. Every day, I produce a cartoon. Two of my cartoons are okay, two are shit. One is a blockbuster which somebody is going to share with others. But I have to keep churning that out consistently. So, we are not in the world of Picassos, we're in the world of Dilberts, but Dilbert is hard work. And the other last change for me is brand management used to be a lot about outsourcing the creativity and the work to others, to agencies, to partners. Now it will be a lot in house and it will be a lot to be done yourself. You have to have the skills and capability to produce content on your own. Because of the sheer volume and the speed at which you have to do it. So therefore, we've created an in-house content studio in Singapore from where we live stream across the world. We're now looking to scale that up massively. So therefore, eventually we see half the content being made in-house, half working with partners, as opposed to today, maybe 99.9% is made outside and 0.1% is made in-house.
Very interesting. Thanks a lot for that. I'm down to my last couple of questions. So you've been in Unilever for quite a long time, and you've seen many special projects, transformations, etc. Can you highlight one which you're really proud of, one or two?
Sure, sure. So I think, look, two I will share. One is in COVID, when the first few weeks of COVID broke out, there was a big need for hygiene portfolio around the world, sanitizers, masks, etc. A lot of governments were reaching out to various companies. Consumers were in panic mode. At that time, I led the global Unilever task force to really deliver hygiene supplies to hundreds of millions of consumers worldwide. So very proud moment. We rallied a lot of resources, rallied the teams, the suppliers, our entire organization, and happy to say more than 50, 60 markets, many governments, hospitals, NGOs, millions of consumers, hundreds of millions of consumers got our hygiene products under the brand of Lifebuoy. So I think that was a really great, proud moment, which is recognized both internally and externally. I think second is it's last 12, 18 months has been really exciting as we've made the shift to being a 100% social first model where we are doing search and social listening, using that to develop innovation, recruit influencers, do brand say and others say, measure the results. We were already a culture of experimentation, but I think now that's going to get hyper accelerated. So, in fact, the brief I'm going to give today afternoon to the team is our innovation cycle, standard innovation cycle in FMCG is 9 months to 15 months, maybe 12 months on average. We've already crunched that by half to 5, 6 months. I am saying to the team now, what does it take to make it 1 week? Meaning today on a Tuesday, I saw something on TikTok. Next Tuesday, I go back to that consumer and say, hey, you talked about this ingredient in that serum last week. Here it is, it's available. Why don't you try and tell me what you think? So what does it take to do that, right? So what is the capability required to do fast beauty and fast innovation at that hyper agile scale? I think that's something we don't have the answers for, but I'm very sure if we crack that capability combined with our global reach and route to market, I think we will be as nimble and as agile as most startups in the world.
So, what advice would you give leaders who are aspiring to become, aspiring to have the impact that you've had in Unilever International? So, what are like the 3 or 4 things they should do to get to where you are in terms of driving impact?
Yeah, so I think from leadership, I have a favorite acronym. I like acronyms. It's called ACE. ACE. A stands for ambition. So I think the first is set a big goal for yourself. Set a 10x goal. Whatever you're thinking is your max potential, think 10x. Now, whether that is in terms of revenue or profit or growth or market share or size of business or any other metric, but think big, think, dream big. Declare those dreams to others. Publicly say, I want to be this. I want to do this. Here is my goal. Here is my target. Now, what that does is it automatically forces you into a mindset of what does it take to achieve that? And usually the answer will be new capability, new learning, new partnership, expand the market, enter new category, develop new product. You don't know the answers. So you're in a growth space. So ambition is the first pillar. Second, C stand for compassion. You cannot do anything alone. You have to work with others, which means you need to be patient. You need to be listening. You need to be engaging with others. And how you do that is by very simple exercise of say hello to people, whether they be your colleagues, your peers, your bosses, your juniors. Ask them how they're doing. Ask them how can I help you, right? What can I do for you? What can I do to make your life a little bit better? How can I improve it a little bit better and be a little appreciative? And third, E comes to execution. I think there is no prize for a great idea. A lot of people have daydreams and great ideas. Their only prizes are for execution, for doing things. So if you are a doer, if you are a deliverer, if you are driving things, if you are performing, eventually the results will follow. Lastly, I will say, I strongly believe you must be running a PNL or be in a PNL role, meaning attached to business, attached to sales, attached to profit. So when you do well, you can see the results. When you do badly, you can see the results. That direct feedback is important.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Aseem. I have a few rapid fire questions and then we can wrap it up. If you're ready, I can shoot those now.
Sure.
Awesome. One productivity ritual that you have.
Wake up before the sun.
Awesome. Then one meeting pet peeve.
Long meetings.
Long meeting. Got it. If you weren't in the business of, the world of business and marketing or not at Unilever, what would you be doing? What alternate career would you have had?
I would be in the Indian Army.
Oh, very interesting. I would love to dig a bit more on that later. What about your learning style? Do you prefer to learn through structured courses or by diving into real world challenges? I think I know the answer to this.
Diving into challenges, hearing others, and making notes.
Got it. If you could collaborate with one historical figure on a global brand launch, who would it be and why?
Gandhi, to create a really sustainable brand that unifies the world.
And the last one is, if you had to sum up your leadership philosophy in one sentence, what would it be?
10x. Go 10x. Live your 10x life.
Great. That's what I had, Aseem. Thank you so much for your time.